Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. My next guest is the worst fighter of all time. He has been knocked out more than anyone in history. He's been knocked out a record 75 times. He's also been knocked out on every continent except for Antarctica. And he was knocked out in the shortest fight ever, which lasted 11 seconds. Please welcome back to the show, Bruce the Mouse Strauss. There is, you know, we had you on the show last time, and we barely scratched the surface. Now, you have all these amazing statistics. The fight in which you were knocked out in 11 seconds, 10 of that was the count when you were down. Isn't that right?
Unfortunately, yes.
Unfortunately, yes. Now, one of the reasons, we should give people a context. Maybe the way in which you fight was not always the wisest. You used to sometimes fight 2 or 3 times a week. Other fighters would, you know, take months off in between fights. You would sometimes fight 2 or 3 times a week.
They would respect commission's rules. Me, I didn't. I was out there making a living. I changed my names. I did whatever I had to make a living. The time I fought twice in one night, I was at a...
Wait a minute. You fought twice in one night?
I had to do it. I had to do it. There were some expenses up, and I had to do it. Now, the time I did fight twice in one night, I was at a preliminary fight. I was in a preliminary fight, and I woke up in the locker room, and I overheard...
So you got knocked out?
I got knocked out.
In the preliminary fight?
In the preliminary fight. And I overheard a loud commotion as I was waking up, which was instigated by the fact that one of the main event fighters had gotten cold feet and left. So I approached the promoter with the idea of me changing into a different colored pair of trunks and fighting as my twin brother. He had nothing to lose.
So you did that? You went out as your twin brother?
I got paid twice that night.
Well, how did you do in the second fight?
Well, I got knocked out also, Conan. I mean,
you got knocked out again.
Yeah, I mean...
Now, when you would often fight under different names, how would you come up with the different names? What kind of names would you use?
Well, usually, Conan, what I did was I used names of people I hated. I got knocked out, and then I sent them the clippings. The way of getting even with them, you know?
So that they would read about themselves being beaten up.
Exactly.
Well, that's...
Well, I did the best I could, you know?
Now, you used to... This is also something every fighter, as people that know fighting, or know anything about fighting know, is that people always have to pick a weight class. You fought in every weight class. Is that right?
I certainly did. An opponent's got to be versatile. You don't get the money the big fighters get. So I fought anywhere from lightweight to heavyweight.
Well, how do you do that? How did you gain the weight?
I certainly didn't gain the weight, literally. I wouldn't have the time. So I had special trunks that had pockets in them, and I'd add the weight to the pockets. And one specific time...
You put lead weight in your pants?
I put lead weight in my pants, but I didn't have to do it while I was fighting, only during the weigh-in. But one time specifically, I was fighting against a guy that was notorious for hitting low. So I kept the weight in there, and he broke his hand on my you know...
Weight.
Cup.
Yeah,
exactly.
Okay.
So,
I'm glad we could find
a good deal.
Now, yeah, that sounds sweet.
Yeah. Smart.
You got the life I want, pal. Now, how did you get started in fighting? I mean, what was the thing that, as a kid, did you want to fight?
Well, not really. I didn't think nothing of it. You know, I was a party in Omaha, Nebraska. I got a little drunk. So I figured I'd go outside and pass out in my friend's station wagon. Now, I knew he was a fighter. His name was Ron Stander, but I didn't know he was leaving that night for fights the next day in Oklahoma City. So next thing I know, he's waking me up, telling me one of the fighters...
You realize how many of your stories involve you waking up?
That's true.
In a weird situation?
You're correct.
Anyway, go ahead. You wake up...
But this time it was from alcohol inducement. You know?
Yeah.
You know. But...
Ladies and gentlemen, Norm Crosby is with us tonight.
So
nice to have you with us, Norm. All right. So anyway, tell us about your alcohol inducement.
All right. So anyway, I wake up...
And by the way, that doesn't sound half bad, but go ahead.
Right. So anyway, I wake up in the back of this, in this car with under the influence of alcohol, and the guy shakes me and says, "Hey, Mouse, one of the fighters didn't show up. You might as well come in and get a physical and fight that night, you know?" So all of a sudden, I shook my head, realized where I was and what he was talking about, and I says to him, "I'm no fighter." So he says to me, "Mouse, there's a guy in there with $200 that says you are." And that's how I got started.
All right, and you fought that. How'd you do in that fight?
Well, I got knocked out, of course. However, However, I made it to...
Why do I keep asking?
However, I made it to the second round, and after that, when I got paid in full, I says to myself, I would have only made it to the first round if I knew I was going to get paid in full. So that started out my career. Why go 10 rounds if you're going to be getting paid the same if you go 1? So that's how I got started.
I think you got the system beat. I really
got
do.
it beat, yeah.
Yeah, if you could, the part about getting your head caved in, if you could miss that part, then you're on the road to something.
Well, I do the best I can.
Now, did you ever fight here in New York City? I know you fought everywhere. Have you ever fought in New York City?
Oh, certainly I fought in New York. I had a fight in New York a while back, and I got in town kind of late. So I figured, I'd pocket my hotel expense, keep my hotel expense, and crash out, go to sleep in the Port Authority bus depot. Now, at the Port Authority...
Your thought process is so different from mine. I've got money for a hotel, and you're going to pocket that and sleep in the Port Authority?
I'm going to pocket and sleep. You never know when you're going to be short in the future,
Sure.
So I was trying to do that with the money you gave me, but they weren't going for it.
Right.
But in either case, I pocket my hotel expense.
Our hotel isn't so good anyway.
That was all right. I pocket my hotel expense, crash out in the Port Authority. Now, at the Port Authority, the bums with the most seniority get to sleep closest to the wall. Because when the cops come by to hassle you once in a while, the bum that's sticking out the furthest gets hit in the knees with the nightsticks. So after a couple visits from the cops, I try to talk a few of the bums into trading positions with me, because I got a fight tomorrow night.
Sure. You said I have a professional fight tomorrow.
Plus, my knees are getting sore.
Right, from being on the floor, yeah.
Right. So the bums, the bums, they don't want to know nothing.
Hey, I know the bums. Yeah. Don't talk to me about the bums.
They don't want to know nothing about fights the next night.
No, they're bums.
So the next night I'm fighting some tough kid from Brooklyn, and I get suspended for getting knocked out. Now, I try to tell my story to the commission in hopes that he will lessen my suspension. But it was after the fact, and he didn't want to hear it. But I swore to him, as I do you, Conan, I would have went the distance with this son of a butcher if my knees weren't so sore.
I think that's you went to the commissioner, you said, hey, it's not my fault I had to sleep in the Port Authority.
And the
I was
knees were
pocketing the money that was given to me.
That's right.
Yeah, you're not crazy at all.
Not at all.
Well, Bruce, you have amazing stories, and I think you're an inspiration to a lot of people. You keep going, and I believe that. I really do. And you're one of the nicest guys we've ever had on the show.
Hey.
You just got a great disposition.
Hey.
And I hope that you'll come back and share some more stuff with us sometime. Will you do that?
I'll do that anytime you want,
All right, Bruce the Mouse Strauss.